Good morning. Welcome to Real Talk. So let me just get myself situated here. All right, perfect. Well, thank you for joining. If you're here live, please say hi in the comments so I know you're here. And I'll just take a minute while we're waiting to see if we get some more people in and to introduce myself. So if you're just finding me, my name is Norma Fran, and I am a life coach and integrative nutrition health coach. And I work with women who are struggling with emotional eating and the diet binge cycle and are looking to find some freedom from that kind of grip we feel around emotional eating. So it's going to be what we're talking about here today. All right, so let's dive in. Feel free to leave me any questions or comments. Just drop it in the comment box and I will make sure that I get to them before the end of this live. And if you happen to be watching on replay later on, feel free to leave a comment as well and just mark it #replay. And I will be sure to grab that and get back to you right in the DMs. All right. Okay, let's jump in. So today I want to talk about emotional eating. And first of all, I'll just say that I'm not a huge fan of the term emotional eating. I think it carries a lot of negative connotation, like it's something bad about us that we need to fix or change or do something about, or some terrible habit that we need to take care of. But what it's so although it's a term that everybody understands, it's also one, like I said, that carries a little bit of negativity around it. And I hope to clear that up here today. One second here. Let me just get my screen straight before we dive into all the details. Okay, so the first thing I'll say about emotional eating, it is way more than just eating your feelings. And I know we kind of put it in that category all the time, and we tend to focus on that. But the thing is, it is very, very complicated. There's so many things that fit under the umbrella of emotional eating, like binge eating, overeating, and even dieting. And what all of these things have in common, though, which I think is a more accurate description of emotional eating, is that it creates this feeling of just being out of control with food and our emotions. So let's normalize it a little bit first. First and foremost, food is comforting and eating is emotional. And because of that, there's nothing wrong with it. And feeling out of control with food is also very upsetting. So while there's some normalcy around emotional eating, I also recognize that it can be upsetting when it feels like it's completely out of your control. So because we find this to be such an upsetting, I'll call it problem to have, is we've tried to do things like end emotional eating or stop emotional eating, be very black and white about it. Either we're doing it or we're not doing it. But what if I told you ending emotional eating just wasn't necessary? Because the truth is, it isn't. And frankly, I don't even know that it's possible, because ending emotional eating would be ending a part of our human nature, something that we're actually born to do. Think about it all the way back to infancy. What does a newborn baby need for comfort? It needs food. And the connection is made that early between food and comfort. So to say that we're just going to end it or making ending emotional eating the goal is probably not the right direction to go in. Ending emotional eating is not necessary or possible. That's my that's I'm going to stand firmly on that. So, how can you still turn to food then when you need it, but also feel in control? So, it's a very practical process of becoming aware of your emotional eating behaviors, first of all, and then addressing them very deliberately. so we can still turn to food when we need it, but do it in a way that's very aware and very deliberate. So, how to become someone who does that? It's when I first learned this, it felt like so far away that I couldn't possibly figure this out. But I'm going to share that with you here today. How you become more aware of the interaction of food and emotions so that you can make those very deliberate eating decisions. So, the process or framework that I use in my coaching and my community membership is based on four foundational elements that really work in tandem with each other. And over time, will change the way you think about your relationship with food and your body. And it'll take away that feeling of just being out of control. So I want to share these steps with you today, and so you can get a better idea of how we go about this work of changing the relationship with food in our body. So the first thing we're going to work on is understanding what emotional eating is and is not. And I help you shift out of the mindset that it's some terrible character flaw or bad habit that we need to end or stop, and into a mindset that says emotional eating is normal and that it can continue to be a coping strategy for difficult emotions, just not the strategy. It's just one tool that you'll have in your toolbox to manage those difficult emotions. So that's the first part, is really getting a good understanding. The second element of this is getting to know yourself and the parts of you that lead you to food to deal with difficult emotions. So we all have different parts of us that help help us really to know and understand why we do what we do with food. They're usually based in experience, and we tend to use them against ourselves rather than trying to work with them. So, for example, we might have these different parts of us. You might have a part that says, I really want those cookies in the kitchen. And you think about them all day. And you have another part of you, maybe it's that dieter part of you, that's screaming, no, 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 you can't have that. So that's why emotional eating feels a little complicated, because you have these different emotional eating parts that are kind of in conflict with each other. So we spend a lot of time getting to know your parts so that you can help untangle the food and diet rules that have probably become pretty ingrained, and kind of calm these parts down and start making those deliberate decisions. Because when all that noise is going on, it's really hard to make a really intentional, deliberate decision, right? So this work will help us calm them down so that we can make those decisions. And then the third element that we work on is understanding why diet or dieting and trying to control food and eating just doesn't work, and how it's actually making our emotional eating behaviors so much more extreme. Simply put, we have to stop dieting to find peace with food and our bodies. I know it's simple to say, and but it's absolutely not easy to do, because we've been trained for years, maybe decades, to believe that dieting is the only solution to all of our problems, and we think that we ha- with we have to control our food and control our weight and control our bodies. We've just completely lost touch with our ability to look inward and decide what we really need. So we do lots of work around the really challenging sometimes process of being able to set aside physical dieting and the mental dieting that we keep doing. The thinking about food and the food rules and all of that. And then the fourth part of the framework that we work on is reconnecting to your body so that you can start to learn about what real physical hunger and fullness feels like. Dieting has completely disconnected us from all of that, from our body, from those sensations. And because we believe that we can't do this by ourselves, we don't have that skill of looking inward, we just don't trust ourselves to make these decisions. So, this part of the work that we do in the membership is going to help reconnect And we do it just by looking at our hunger and our fullness and being able to tell when those things are in play, and then start adopting a more intuitive way of responding to that. So that's how we do it. We start with an understanding of what it is, what emotional eating is and isn't. We get to know our different emotional eating parts that are driving these behaviors. We start to really dig into our ability to stop dieting and set all of the restriction aside and start learning what our body really needs. And then we reconnect. We reconnect to fullness and hunger, and we start to learn what those cues are so that we have options, so that we can start responding in a way that is most appropriate for that particular situation. Now, no matter how complicated emotional eating feels right now to you, no matter how upsetting it's been for you, it is a completely solvable problem without ever having to end it or to stop it. And those four elements that I just talked about are the very thing that's going to take all of that frantic, extreme energy out of those emotional eating behaviors. And it's going to allow you to step back and to calmly and compassionately, self compassionately, decide what your body needs in those times of difficult emotions that don't always involve food. So I hope you found a little relief today in knowing that ending emotional eating isn't necessary. In fact, it's very normal. It's something we all do. And that by understanding more about yourself and your emotional eating parts, you can curb that. You can curb those emotional eating behaviors and still find peace with food and your body once and for all. This is lifetime work. This is work that will stay with you for the rest of your life. And it's such important work. So I would encourage you, if you want to learn more about this, we're getting ready to open Mind, Body, and Plate, the community membership, with the brand new course, the foundational course that I just kind of talked about in those 4 points, on June 1st. And I'm going to drop in the comments the link that you can use to get yourself on the wait list. And no commitment, it's just putting you on the list so that once we're ready to open the doors, you will be the first to get all of the details and decide if this is going to be a fit for you. All right, I'm popping that link in the comments. I don't see any questions here yet. Let's go back to, very good. All right. So like I said, I hope this was helpful. You feel a little bit of relief, and I hope to see you on that wait list. And don't worry, I'm not going to leave you hanging until June 1st. You'll get a couple of emails from me right after you get on the wait list. That's going to give you some really practical steps that you can start taking today, just to start preparing for this amazing work that we can do together in the community. All right, I hope to see you there. Have a good day. Bye.